Welcome to the Brand Wise podcast, where we talk about the big branding moves that business owners are making and the why behind it. I'm your host, Jess Freeman, here to help you be wise and be bold. Hey friends, today we're talking about something that I get asked about quite often, knowing when it's actually time for a rebrand. Not just when you're bored with your colors or feeling kind of meh about your website, but when your brand truly needs a refresh to help you reach that elusive next level. And after spending over a decade in this space and working with literally hundreds of business owners, I've noticed there's a big difference between wanting a rebrand and needing one. And sometimes we get caught up in what everyone else is doing or feeling like we need a change when what we really need is clarity on whether our current brand is actually serving our bigger business goals. So today I'm going to walk you through 8 questions that will help you figure out if you're really ready for a rebrand. Now, these are not your typical surface level questions. I'm not going to ask you how you feel about your colors. We're going to go a little bit deeper into stuff that actually matters for your business and how you're positioning yourself in your industry. So let's dive in. Question number 1, is your brand aligned with where you want your business to go in the next 3 to 5 years? Now, this goes deeper than just what your website says about you right now, because obviously we can change that at any point. I talk to a lot of professionals who are still rocking that same brand they created when they first started. Maybe when they were fresh out of school, or when they were still finding their footing, or even when they were charging like half of what they charge now. And here's what happens. Their brand is telling this story of who they were and not who they've become. I actually had a client a few weeks ago who was still using the same website she built when she was mainly doing one-off coaching and just, kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. But now she's speaking at conferences, she's running group programs, she's even working on a book. And her brand was telling the story more so of a new dietitian looking for her first clients when she's actually become this really big authority in her field. And this is why I always tell my clients to think bigger than just right now. When we're working on a rebrand, I'm not just thinking about what they need their website to do this month or this year. I'm thinking about how what we're building is going to support their growth for years to come. And I know you might be like, oh, but I don't want to, I don't think I'll ever write a book. I don't think I'll ever speak on stages. But think about what you envisioned for your life or your business 5 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever. And is this what you thought it would be? I don't know about you, but I am often like, holy cow. I did not think I would be where I'm at in a good way. And so, yes, we can make plans, but sometimes, economy or just the online space, things can really shift beyond what we actually thought was going to happen. So don't limit your dreams or your brand just based on what you have planned for the next 2 years. And when you are thinking about your big goals, if you are someone who does have some of those goals about writing a book or launching a podcast, speaking on big stages, does your current brand feel aligned with that vision? Because you don't want to wait to do a rebrand in February just so you can finally start a podcast or write a book in June. You want to do that now. 1, so that you're just not doing huge projects back to back. And 2, so that you can start building that authority now. I have had a lot of clients over the years who want to launch a podcast. They're going to write a book, whatever it is. And they're like, okay, so in 2026, I'm going to write a book. So I'm going to do the website now so that I can, or, whatever it is. And it just... You don't need to wait to make that happen. You want to start doing it now, start positioning yourself now for that authority. And I see this a lot with my nutrition and fitness professionals who've niched down over time. Maybe you started as like a general dietitian, but now you're specifically focused on gut health or hormones or performance. Your expertise has deepened, your approach has become more refined, but your brand is still telling that general health story from years ago. So that's the first question. The next question I want you to think about is, when you look at your competitors, do you feel that your brand stands out or blends in? And I need to be real with y'all for a minute. There is this thing happening in the health and wellness space, and really, honestly, even outside of that, where everyone's websites and brands are starting to look a lot alike. You know what I'm talking about, the soft beige colors, the minimal design, the same stock photos of women laughing while they eat a salad. I've kind of started calling it the Bland Wellness Brand Academy because seriously, it's like everyone graduated from this same course on how to look exactly like everyone else. And I get it. It's pretty, it's safe, it's warm. But here's the problem. When you look exactly like everyone else in your industry, you're making your potential clients work way too hard to understand why they should choose you. I'll have a client come to me and say, "Oh, I know I'm different. I have my own approach. I get really amazing results for my clients, but for some reason, I don't feel like it's coming across on my website." And so then I start digging deeper, and it's usually just because they felt this pressure to fit into this cookie cutter mold of what a quote unquote professional website should look like. But think about the health and fitness professionals who really stand out to you, the ones who are booking out months in advance, getting featured in major publications, getting brand deals, building wait lists for their programs, having six-figure launches. I guarantee they're not blending in. They're not trying to look like a carbon copy of everyone else in their field. This is much more than just, having some bold colors. I'm not telling you, okay, you have to go have a neon color palette because everyone else is pastel. It's about having the courage to let your true expertise and personality and perspective shine through in every aspect of your brand. Maybe you are the straight-talking dietitian who's tired of diet culture. Maybe you're the fitness coach who is changing how we think about strength training. Whatever makes you different, that is what should be front and center in your brand. Like, ask yourself, if I removed your logo from your site and blurred out all the brand photos, would someone be able to tell your website apart from your competitors? Because when you blend in, you're basically telling potential clients that you're interchangeable with everyone else in your field. And if you're interchangeable, guess what becomes the deciding factor? Price. And I know that you didn't spend all this time building your education and expertise just to compete on price. So, moving on to question number 3. Are you consistently attracting your ideal clients, or are you finding that you're often settling for clients who don't really align with your offerings? I don't want you to have just enough clients. I want you to have the right clients. And I know you've got a website that's bringing in some people, maybe even a good number of people, but then you're spending way too much time on discovery calls with people who aren't the right fit. Or worse, you're taking on clients who drain your energy because you feel like you need to say yes to everyone who comes your way. I had a client last year. She's a hormone health specialist. And before we worked together, she was getting tons of inquiries from people looking for basic weight loss coaching. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not her specialty and definitely not what lights her up. Her brand wasn't clearly communicating her actual expertise. So she was attracting the wrong audience and then having to spend time either turning them away or trying to make it work. And every time you take on a client who isn't quite right, you're actually taking up space that could have gone to your ideal client. not only that, but you're probably not getting the amazing testimonials and results that you get with clients who are perfectly aligned for your approach. And this is where your brand plays a really important role. A strategic brand isn't just about looking good, it's about attracting the right people and repelling the wrong ones. And yes, I said repelling because a good brand should actually turn some people away. If everyone loves your brand, you're probably not being specific enough about who you serve and how you serve them. And let's be honest, as health and wellness professionals, you need your energy for serving your clients, not for trying to make it work with people who aren't the right fit. Your brand should be doing that filtering for you. So, moving on to question number 4, have you made any significant shifts in your business, like new offers, pricing, a new audience? And does your brand reflect those changes? Because if there's one thing I know about health and fitness professionals, it's that you are constantly growing, learning, and refining your approach. But then too often your brand gets just kind of left behind. And again, like when you first started, maybe you were doing kind of general coaching or one-on-one nutrition. Then you noticed that your clients were getting great results with a very specific issue. So you developed a program and maybe you got some additional certifications. You've really refined your approach, but your website still looks like it did when you were just a generalist. I had a client a few years ago who started as a, general health coach for women, and over a few years she became the go-to expert for women. But her website still had that generic, like, let me help you get healthy messaging from when she first started. She was literally underselling herself every single day because her brand hadn't caught up with her expertise. Every time you level up in your business or even personally, but your brand stays the same, you are creating a disconnect. You're making it harder for your ideal clients to recognize you as the expert. And you're probably kind of feeling that disconnect every time you send someone to your website or share your links. Or maybe that's why you hesitate to even share your website. Your brand should be dynamic like your business. It should grow with you, evolve with you, and reflect where you are right now, not where you were last year. So, moving on to question number 5, is your brand helping you charge what you're worth, or is it making you justify your prices? And yes, we're going to talk about money. Specifically, let's talk about how your brand either supports or sabotages your pricing. So again, I know you've got this amazing expertise, you're getting results, you know your services are worth some premium prices. But something interesting happens when people land on your website. They either get sticker shock or worse, they don't even book a call because your brand doesn't match your level of expertise. And so they quickly leave. I mean, think about when you go to a high-end restaurant, you expect to pay high-end prices because everything about their brand, from the atmosphere to the menu design, signals quality and expertise. Your brand should be doing the same heavy lifting for your business so that when clients see your prices, they think, yeah, that makes sense. Not, wow, that's expensive. Which leads us to question number 6. When potential clients find you through Google instead of social media, do they actually see you as an authority? I mean, honestly, like what happens when someone finds you without seeing all of your perfectly curated Instagram posts first? The clients who find you through Google are often your warmest leads because they are actively searching for help. They are ready to invest. They're not just casually searching for hormone health answers on a random Saturday afternoon just for kicks and giggles. They need help. But then you are over here pouring your heart into social media, building this really great profile on Instagram, And then your website feels like an afterthought. So when someone searches for hormone dietitian in Chicago and finds your website, they're not seeing the expert that you really are. So think about if someone had never seen your social media, would your website alone convince them you're the expert? Because there are people out there who are not on social media or not on Instagram specifically. I know a lot of people rely heavily on Instagram. I mean, I think about my dad, who I recently recommended to go talk with a dietitian because the doctor was giving really bad nutrition advice. And he has never in his life had an Instagram account. He is not scrolling through your curated Instagram feed. He's just not seeing it. Here's the truth. You can't control how people find you, but you can control what they find when they get there. Your website needs to be strong enough to convert cold traffic, people who've never heard of you before, into warm leads who are ready to work with you. I mean, be honest, do you really want to be tied to social media forever? Like, do you really want to spend the next 10 years posting on Instagram or Threads every day or every other day? Your website should be working just as hard as you are to position you as the authority in your field. Now, that leads us on to question 7. If a journalist or news channel wanted to feature you tomorrow, would your current brand position you as an expert? This question usually makes people pause, and it should, because it's not just about a hypothetical media feature. And trust me, like, these hypotheticals will happen. It might be Amy Porterfield, it might be Gary Vee, it might be your local news, it might be a random conference in Sweden. But journalists and podcast hosts and conference organizers, they are vetting you online before they reach out. And sometimes they're deciding not to reach out based on what they find. Your brand isn't just about getting clients. It is also about positioning you for these bigger opportunities that can help get you more exposure in front of those ideal clients. And most health and wellness professionals are way more qualified than their brand even suggests. You've got the certifications, the client results, the methodology, but if your brand isn't communicating that effectively, you're missing out on opportunities you might not even know about. Now, lastly, question number 8. If you couldn't use social media for a month, would your brand still effectively communicate your value? Let's imagine Instagram disappeared tomorrow. Now, we know that at least once a year, Instagram servers, crash for a few hours and everyone freaks out and posts about, like, this is why you need a website and an email list. But how would you feel about your website being the only way people could learn about you and your services? The only way. Because I see a lot of professionals treating their website like a fancy business card, basically, and then putting all of their energy into social media. They're writing novels and Instagram captions, but their website is basically just like, hey, book a call. They're sharing really great, client transformations and results in their Instagram stories, but then their website doesn't showcase any of those results. I actually had a wake-up call with a friend of mine recently because she realized she was spending 10 to 15 hours a week creating social media content, but then potential clients were still confused about her services and what she actually did when they got to her website. So she was basically having to use Instagram DMs as like a Band-Aid. Your website should be strong enough to sustain your business on its own. Social media should be the amplifier, not the foundation. Now, if you've been feeling a little called out by some of these questions, good. That means you're starting to recognize where your brand might be holding you back. And the first step is recognizing where the gaps are. Maybe your brand worked perfectly when you started, but you've outgrown it. Maybe it's doing an okay job, but it could be tweaked a little bit. Here's what I want you to take away from this episode. Your expertise deserves a platform that matches it. Your clients want to understand exactly how you can help them without having to piece it together from your Instagram grid. And you deserve to have a brand that works as hard as you do. So if you're ready to dive deeper into this, you can head over to justcreatives.com, where I've got resources and information about branding and websites that actually convert. And if you found this episode helpful, make sure to screenshot it, share it on Instagram, tag me at justcreatives. I'd love to hear which question resonated with you the most. And until next time, just remember, your brand should be working for you, not the other way around. And I will see y'all next week. If today's branding story inspired you and you're ready to start your own rebrand adventure, head over to justcreatives.com/rebrand to explore how we can work together on your brand. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to leave a review or share it on Instagram, and tune in next week for another episode.